Boom. Oh, that's a good sound.
Technology is working. It's
That's right.
unsolicited today.
That's right. It's so unsolicited. I saw your post. They can make wolves nowadays.
Oh, dude. Nuts.
I know. All right, let's see.
What are we doing? Crying out loud, people.
I don't know. I had to immediately text my daughter. She actually just got accepted to veterinary school at Oklahoma State University. I texted her.
Awesome.
I said, "What do you think about this?" She had a pretty good answer, but she's not a huge fan. She's in genetics, and she's not a huge fan. Not at all.
Wow, dude, that's a dangerous. Yeah, yeah. Anyhow, we'll leave it alone. Yeah,
All right,
for another day.
that's
Another
right.
another separate podcast that we might
Right.
want to do just on that.
Today we're doing something different. So this is Chiropractic Connections, you guys. And our goal here, I'm Dr. Wes Hill, and my buddy Dr. Travis Parker is my business partner in this fiasco. And what we try to do is we try to bridge that gap that we know exists and existed when we were in chiropractic college between the student and the practitioner and between the student and the mentor or coach or however you want to look at it, because we don't want the students feeling like there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do. We want them to get out as prepared as they can possibly be. And I know my buddy Travis Parker, years ago we started talking and we're like, man, if I'd have just known about these groups, these different mentors, these different, when I was in chiropractic college, I think things might have been a little different. So we're trying to bridge that gap. So we've got with us Dr. Paul Reed. And Paul,
Hey, hey,
where are you from now? Where are you located?
man, I am in the Pacific Northwest, Washington State, where it's raining right now. Actually, sun's peeking out a little bit,
Oh,
but yes, the Pacific Northwest.
yeah, I hear it
Big
rains there a little
territory. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful area. Beautiful country. A little bit crazy at times, but beautiful, beautiful place to live. So,
Well, that's awesome. I'm in Oklahoma and Travis is in Texas. Oklahoma,
Texas.
we're experiencing weather whiplash right now. I mean, it's like crazy. It hits you from the left, hits you from the right. So forgive me.
stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. That's a song, baby.
What are you gonna do? My voice is I'm yelling right now. It just doesn't sound like it probably. So
Right?
let's jump into it. So what we like to do, Paul, if it's good with you, we like to just ask questions, general questions, early startup questions, stuff like that, and then kind of
Yeah,
bring it to present day. We'll just kind of tennis ball, ping pong ball, whatever, back and forth between
I
Dr.
love it.
and myself, and just
I
answer the
love it.
questions. Take as much time as you need, and we'll have some convo about it all, and
Okay.
get these
I love it.
students answers possibly. So,
I love
Travis,
it.
are you in a spot where you can?
Yeah,
Okay, you
Looked
got
I,
like he's
I
doing
can do.
Mach 50 down the
I,
road there for a sec,
I'm
but
in my neighborhood, just flying around. But no, we appreciate you talking with us, Doc.
no, man.
Like Wes said, years ago we were told that the group we were in was the only group of successful docs out there, and then you start realizing that's not true. And
Yeah.
and not saying we made bad decisions. We both have been very successful, but would we have done things different? Could we have done things different? There are things about certain groups that align with certain people,
Yeah.
and others that don't. And honestly, there might be, some young people in school that really, honestly, um, haven't found what they're looking for. But I don't want them to, I don't want them to do something that totally feels wrong to them,
Yeah.
just because someone said this is a successful way to do it. I think there's a lot of ways to be successful in chiropractic. Wes agrees. And so
Yay, amen.
we wanted to expose these guys and gals to some of these successful doctors doing different things. And you're obviously doing something different than either one of us actually were exposed to early on. So my first question is, what made you decide to become a chiropractor?
Holy smokes. All right. So that I have to. So speaking about taking a long time, I'm gonna have to shake some cobwebs off. No, I'm just teasing. So I had, unlike a lot of students today that I'm seeing, because my son is actually on his way home right now. He just finished, wrapped up 10th quarter, just started 11th quarter at Life West. Um, I had a chiropractic experience. I was, avid athlete, was wrestling in 8th grade. Hurt myself wrestling. I was a big kid, so I was wrestling up against, because there wasn't many kids my size. So I was wrestling up against older kids and hurt myself. Dad took me to the chiro he was seeing and checked me, adjusted me, and I literally was like, I don't know what that was, but I want to do it. You know? And and
Mhm.
uh and it wasn't until, maturing through my chiropractic career, understanding that turning on the power and connecting man the physical, man the spiritual is really what happened to me that moment. Didn't understand it at 13. The doc I actually was a toughness doc, so it wasn't even a high force technique, but it cleared me, reconnected me, and yeah, man. So that was my chiropractic experience, and I met, that was eighth grade. And I honestly held that line from that point moving forward. Knew, I was again an athlete, got the opportunity to play college football, but met my current wife or my wife a year later at high school, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be a chiropractor when I grew up, right? And most people are like, what? Like you're 14. What do you know when you're 14? And just held that line, leveraged my athletic ability, get my undergrad paid for, and propelled me right into chiropractic college. I actually left. So I forfeited a semester of scholarship to start chiro school early. I'd already executed on my requirements to graduate, and so we finished my team WSU that year. Went to the Alamo Bowl, played Baylor, and I got back on like a Tuesday, drove home Wednesday, and started school like the next Monday or something like that. So I literally took like a
Nice.
3 day break. Yeah. So that was had my intent, was headed that direction. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of wrestling,
Awesome.
you know, Hendrickson?
I'm sorry.
See Hendrickson, Oklahoma State's heavyweight.
Yes, dude,
Both
beating
his
the
parents
beating
are
the
chiros.
Minnesota kid. It was great. Yeah, it was
Both his
great.
parents are chiros. That was awesome.
Yeah, high school buddy of mine actually wrestled at Oklahoma State. Jay Rogers. I grew up wrestling him, and he got a scholarship there wrestling, and got actually hit by a car
Oh, my.
when he was
Wow.
running to lose weight and ended his career. But yeah, fractured his femur, and it was a mess. But yeah, anyhow, yeah.
Awesome.
And another college buddy of mine. Speaking, we're going sideways, but another college buddy of mine just left Oklahoma State. He was a tight ends coach for the last half a dozen years for the football team, and just got a job down at the University of Texas. So he just moved. Jason McAdoo just moved down to coach the Longhorns from Oklahoma State. So
Yeah.
another college buddy of
Well,
mine.
Oklahoma
Yeah.
State's kind of one of those go-betweens anyway. So sorry,
Yeah.
didn't mean to get you off, but hey,
Yeah.
Hendrickson
It's all good.
are both chiros. So look at what chiro kids can do, right?
Amen.
Nice.
Oh, good stuff.
But any more elaboration or anything like that? Like which college did you go to? Where'd you graduate
You,
from?
I was, so again, another ironic, funny God alignment story. So I was actually registered at Palmer West, and we were married. Heidi and I were married, and so she got a job at home to teach, and so with like less than a month before class was supposed to start, I applied to Western States and got in. I'm like, all right, I'm going home. I know who I am. I'm not going to allow that to I knew they were off principle, right? I was going to be a principal chiro just based on my chiropractor growing up, but I knew they were off principle. But it was in our backyard, so yeah. So I went to Western States.
So, Doc, you said that you leveraged your athletic ability to go to school and it paid
Yeah.
for your school. Were your parents, how did you grow up as a kid? Did you
Yeah.
grow up with a white picket fence? Was it
No, well, I
going to
mean,
be, if you're
we
going to go to
weren't.
college, it's going to be on you?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah. So my dad was a teacher. Mom was a dental assistant. Dad was a teacher and a coach, a high school teacher and a coach, and mom was a dental assistant. So yeah, so college would have been on me. So, again, we could go on personal stories, but another God thing with that in regards to injuries and still getting a scholarship and lots of stuff going through an 18-year-old's mind at the time. But yeah, yeah,
And run with it because these kids, these students, they need to know. I mean, so just
yeah, man. So I was, again, I identified, growing up being, fairly athletic, identified as an athlete. That was my identity, and my senior year was getting recruited by pretty much everybody across the country, Notre Dame, all the Pac-10 schools, Penn State. Got letters from all of them heading into my senior year, and then I tore my ACL like 2 games in, and did not get to finish. Didn't get to finish the year, obviously, and as a kid, that was my quote unquote exit strategy. That was my thing that was going to allow me to not necessarily escape the life because I had a great life, right? But it just allowed me to really chart the course that I had made it, the story I'd told myself for the last, since an eighth grade, right? Like I'm going to go to college, play football, and then go to chiropractic school. So yeah, so it was disheartening as a young man sitting in the hospital having like I'm literally like the Stanford coach called me at the hospital, said, sorry to hear about a kid, but we're gonna go a different direction. I was like just like what is going on here? Like my world is completely upside down and then just through prayer and meeting with I remember I just shared this actually today on a interview as well. I remember sitting in the stands watching the team practice as I had the injury, and I was up there with our pastor at the time, and just not knowing what life was going to bring, and just getting clarity on it and leaning into it, and was blessed. Washington State honored their word, said, "Hey, we still got you. We know you're going to be a great athlete. You're going to contribute. You'll be able to recover." And so they honored their scholarship, and I was able to lean into that and recover, and I wasn't quite as fast as I was pre-injury. The skill level and recovery and techniques they did back then weren't what they do now with these athletes. So but I lost a step, but they still honored it and still got me to school, and still got my undergrad paid for to get me to where I needed to go. So.
That's awesome. So you'd say it wasn't an easy route. There's some adversity you had to,
Wow. 100%. Man, you would not, nothing in life worth doing is easy, right? So my life is full of stinking adversity. That's probably, that's all the scars. So I put my head down, you can see all of it, right?
Absolutely build you. Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump now. Then so you went through school, you got through, you get your degree and all that stuff. Let's talk about early practice. So,
Yeah.
you've graduated, you've got your degree, and you know what to
What
do.
do you
You
do?
don't know what to do. Where were you? Where was your mind? Like at the
So,
time, try to remember back.
no, I know I got clarity on this too, because ironic, like the same things keep coming up. So I gotta actually help some more people with this. So I had all intentions to going back and working with the doctor that was my mentor. Like that was like, all right, I'm gonna go back, and he was a Gonstead guy, highly successful, giant practice here in town, and I did I'd executed on my credits to do my 12th quarter preceptorship off campus in his clinic, and so I was there doing X-rays, all the stuff for him that entire quarter. And man, when I got inside of it, he wasn't really the dude that I thought he was externally as a patient, right? So I got to know him a little bit better, and got to see how he interacted with his team and with his wife and with his son. And I was like, man, this isn't really, one of the CAs I became close with, that had worked with him for a hot minute. She's like, man, you have a little cloud over you when you're here, that you're not the same kid that showed up when you left. I'm like, you know what? I don't feel the same. And so I went home and told Heidi, I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. I think we're supposed to do our own thing. And so, yeah, so when it came time to sign the thing with him, I'm like, nope, you know what, man, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to go with my own practice down the road. And this is, so get this. So here's, unfortunate circumstance. The dude shakes my hand and says, good luck. You're going to fail and you won't pass your boards. I was like, are you kidding me, ref? Like, what? All right. So, that said, Heidi and I are like, you're right. We're not used to the money. Like, let's go. And so we found a spot, got clarity on who we wanted or what we wanted for the business / practice, and marched forward and opened up straight out of school. So
what were some? Hit me with some early obstacles. You're in practice. You're going like it's never
yeah,
straightforward. So hit me with a couple early obstacles.
man. Well, there's a lot of them, but I would tell you. So I like to say now, coaches help pay the dummy tax, right? The coach has gone through a lot of those hiccups. And so I literally hired my first coach 6 months before I opened. I went, it's Ron, I tell this story from the stage when I speak all the time. Ron Oberstein, the current president of Life West, had his power zone at the time, and I went to a seminar, and before I just had finished school, or right before finishing school, went to the seminar, and came home and told Heidi, I'm like, you know what? I just hired this guy. We need to send him 12 post-dated checks for $650 or whatever it was at the time that we did not have, right? And she's like, you did what? And I'm like, yep, this guy's going to help us get to where we want to go faster. And so I and I think some of the rationale behind that is I've grown up an athlete, right? I always had coaches in my corner that not only helped me, athletically, but with relationships. We're just dads, right? People that you could look up to and learn and grow from. And so yeah, so I hired him. So that actually shortened a lot of the learning curve for me jumping into practice, and we we opened up and accelerated pretty quickly. But I would tell you this, like the biggest hiccup was really getting clarity, or not hiccup, biggest pain point. And he helped me work through this, is really getting clarity on what I wanted my practice, what I wanted my thumbprint to look like, smell like, taste like. And so I spent a lot of diligence prepping and creating that vision mentally, before I even opened, from the colors to the smell, like literally all things. And that's an exercise I have my docs do now. Like, you need to really get clarity on what you want. I mean, that's the beauty of what we do as chiropractors. We can do anything we want, right? And so it's just really getting clarity on what you want your practice to look like. And I would tell you the other thing that I was blessed with is he said, Paul, act as if, meaning if you want to, I had a vision of, a certain volume of practice that I set in my mind that I wanted to do. And he said, everything that you do has to be congruent with that. The amount of time you process an exam, the amount of time you process an x-ray, the amount of time you're spending with that person at the table on day one, has to be the same that it will be when you're seeing that amount of people. And if you're incongruent, meaning like if you need to be doing a 5 minute or less adjustment and you're spending 10 or 15, there's incongruence. You're not going to grow to that level that you want to grow to. And so he really course corrected me in making sure that, all things from the beginning were aligned with the practice that I truly wanted to create. So, yeah,
Awesome.
yes, yeah.
Well, obviously, it sounds like
Hiccup. So
a
I
great.
guess another hiccup is owners is that we have to grow through is hiring, right? I would tell you, probably employees are the most difficult part of being a business owner and training and mentoring them and leading them and so I learned that through the hard way. We opened with one practice, and when I exited, I had five, and so learning really how to be a good mentor to them. And again, it was school of hard knocks. It wasn't without tears and frustration and occasionally somebody quitting because, wasn't necessarily what I was saying, but as an ex pretty big dude, dominant athlete, it was how I was saying things, right? How I was coming across, my facial expressions. People tell me all the time I have an RBF. Like, all right, you're probably right. Like I was a linebacker. Like, yes, I'm pissed off a lot. So having to change that and tweak that so that and I leaned into, my wife is a great communicator, so she helped me to be able to work through that. But that is probably the biggest as a business owner. As employees are always your biggest challenge. And I found, through growing, going from one employee to, again, up to over 30 just in the practices, that being transparent and authentic and outlining expectations is the key to a good relationship with your employees. If they truly know what you want of them and what you expect of them, when is that report supposed to be on my desk? How often do I want it? And all of those things, that the clearer you can be in your communication to them of expectations is critical. So, yeah.
Love it.
I agree. Those are some good obstacles.
Travis.
Now, you're obviously that was a fantastic mentor. My assumption is you've had more than just one mentor. Yeah, I hope that you're seeing kind of where we're going with this. A lot of these guys they don't even know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
So and they're stuck on one guy or one
Yeah.
person. And Wes and I both know that when you're looking to one person to answer all those questions, you're likely going to be let down, right? So my assumption is there were other mentors that
100%.
you.
I have had multiple and still continue to have multiple in my life. And they all take you through a journey and then you eventually, I don't want to say that time runs out because I'm still have great relationships with most of them. But they help you grow to that point to where sometimes you transition and the mentee becomes the mentor, you know? And so, yeah, so I'm a huge fan of, right. It's just, we can't see scotomas, blind spots. And that's why it's so important to have other people in your life that help you see blind spots, because we get in our rhythms, we get in our habits, and we don't know what we don't know. And unless somebody looks at it from a different view, to help you see that block, to clear it so you can move through it. Yeah, so I've had multiple throughout my entire career and still do, like I said. So, yeah. Yep. It's,
Awesome.
it's important for, you know, teaching you and directing you and guiding you, but also just for accountability. We're human, and we're borderline lazy and complacent. And when things get hard, we want to stop. And when you have accountability in your life, like, all right, they're going to ask me about that, I better friggin' do it. So I got a report next week. I'm like, I better do the work. So it's
Hey, things get
accountability is
hard.
huge.
I don't know what you're talking about there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Always good to have a buddy to go through it with you, right?
100%. Yeah.
So you kind of touched on practice and early practice and that. When you started out, what practice model did you run? Like what, straight, mixed, one room, 3 rooms, 4
Yep.
rooms?
Yep.
open bay. Like what was your
Yeah.
practice model to start? And then go ahead and go through where that led you to with the
Yeah.
finances and all that stuff. How did you get to that point?
Yeah. 100%. So open up, man. My vision was just straight subluxation based, adjust only. And so I had an exam, tiny office. Well, not tiny. It was like 1,200 square feet. So I had an exam X-ray room. I had a family adjusting room, and then two out in the open, a table with a T-bar in between them, and then a reception area, bathroom. Back when we had to have a dark room, so I had like an X-ray
Yep.
processing room back when we had to do that. These kids don't know what that's like anymore. Yeah, so I started out with just adjustments, volume, 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 and then as we mature, as you said, like through different seasons, I wanted to provide not any different care, but a higher level. So I started incorporating some Pedibond CBP work. So we started doing some corrective care stuff. So we started, implementing some cervical traction, wobble chair vibration plate stuff, and um, I added massage. So I'm like, hey, I like massage myself. Why not hire a massage therapist so I can get it reduced and then make it available for my practice members? Um, you know, and but that's really how it exited. So yeah, so I would say that probably 2 years in, I started incorporating some of the Pedimon stuff. Year three, moved from my 1,200 square foot office to 2,500 square foot office. Again, same thing, traction, wobble, adjust, and then let's see, it was about year 10. So we spent, let's see, it would have been 7 years there, and then opened the second clinic. Same, all the clinics had the same model. Everybody came in, got a day one. We did a discovery appointment. I've done this since day one. Discovery appointment to see is to know. We want to see where they're subluxated, how long they've been subluxated, what it's complicating. Bring them back for a day two process, report of findings, whatever you want to call it, where we sit down again, confirm where their issues are, confirm where the subluxation's at, lay out a care plan for them, based on what I found. I think I see a lot of docs get complacent and skip this day where they're skipping their re-exams. It was precedent for my docs. They had to do their re-exams. Even on cash people, it's important to remind them where they started, where they're at, and where we're going.
Mm.
And yeah, so then we would do, once they went through their quote unquote initial intensive acute care, whatever you want to call it, we'd re-x-ray them, see how much structural change we got, and then put them on, either continue structural corrective care, if they needed it, but most of the times they were improved enough. We moved into some sort of wellness supportive care frequency, once a week, twice a month, once a month, based on what they needed. We came to an agreement on that. But yeah, so that's really where, how I started, and then the process that we progressed through, and then held our line on that. And I would say, no matter if it's one office or five offices like I had, I would encourage docs to really establish, back to being able to communicate to your team, really establish a process. You have to have it. Like if you look at any business, the ones that are successful, they have to have a process. And when we don't have processes, we're out of, again, back to alignment and congruence. Like we teach an unsubluxated lifestyle, right? You got to get when you're subluxated, your body's in a state of dis-ease. Same thing with a business. If you don't have a system or a process, it is in a state of dis-ease, which creates chaos, which creates stress, worry, fear, all that stuff, because you can't manage it. We can't memory manage for an extended period of time. And so creating a system and process, no matter what it is, like having a standard operating procedure that you can communicate to yourself, and as you start to expand to other doctors and team members and whatnot. So,
So
yeah.
system in place, fill in system
Yep.
versus I'm going to play it by ear. I'm gonna see a bunch of people, and when they come in, I'm gonna figure out how to do this. And when you do that, the patients know. You know what I mean? They know. They see that. When you have that confidence and you have that model like you have that vision, you have that foresight, so to speak, and you set that up first, your confidence level rises. And when your confidence
Yeah.
level rises and you have your mission and you have all that stuff, from what I've seen, I know Travis is in the same boat. Those practices grow quicker. They
Yep.
just grow quicker
100%.
versus the ones, I'm not saying the ones don't grow, but versus the ones that are like, man, I just want to see a ton of people. All right, you can. How? How are
Yeah.
you going to see a ton of people? Like they have no plan. It's just like, I just want to do it.
Yeah, and just more obstacles end up happening that way, right? Because
Yeah.
you're like you said, you're almost winging it, trying to figure it as you go, and just more obstacles happen, and so yeah. So and again, back to Ron, right? Like my model, process I exited with is what not Ron taught me, but what he taught me translated into me making my own process to continue to grow and expand. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now,
Good.
obviously, those are some. I feel like it's funny because next on our list was pros and cons of your model, and that sounds like you laid out some really good pros. You talked to Reggie Gold, Jim Sigafus. These guys will tell you, um, man, you preach the chiropractic story to 10 people and you get one that bites. Any cons that you can think of, honestly, with the model?
With the model that I practiced,
Yes.
I would say maybe a con is it definitely, and granted, we served a lot of people, but adding it didn't. I don't want to say it complicated because we did have a great system or process, but the more things that you add to a practice slows down the practice, right? Like so it's time, right? And so if you truly on a mission to see 1,000 a week, 2,000 a week, whatever it is, like those other things are gonna, inhibit you from really reaching that. And I would say that's maybe the only con. Again, we served a high amount of folks a week with that process, but it would be something that would slow down the process versus just checking upper cervical or something. So yeah, yeah, and it required more team members.
Yeah.
So that's that. As you expand and grow, it requires more team members, which is a con because you have more payroll expenses, more people to manage, and whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That can be a headache sometimes.
Yeah. Like daily.
Yeah, right. I have a hard enough time managing my kids.
Yeah, right.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, just from the way you're talking, it's so fun because we write these questions down. We're trying to create a flow, and you just kind of like just
Dude, I thought he had
railroad
the
our next
questions. I'm
question.
like, this guy's got the questions and
Yeah,
answered
like
them.
he's railroad next question. Our question was going to be, what are your thoughts? What are your beliefs? Lifetime care, or are you more of a palliative care, doc? And
Me?
yeah.
Oh, once a
But
week, don't be a geek. Right? From the womb to the tomb, however you want to
yeah,
say it.
oh,
Like,
amen, amen,
yeah,
amen.
yeah, no, like if you got a spine and nervous system, it needs to be checked regularly.
So how do you
Yeah.
talk? Okay, so how do you communicate that to the patients? Do you communicate that to the patients with 3 month increments, with 1 year increments, with 2 year
Yep.
increments? How do you? Because re-exams are important when you're talking
Yeah,
lifetime care.
yeah, 100%.
How do you present that to the patient, the practice member?
Man, yeah. So again, I would tell you there's no perfect way. I would say it's consistency in messaging. Like people like right there with you 5 minutes, they're outside the world getting screwed up 23 minutes or 23 hours, 55 minutes. And so it's the consistency behind your messaging. But I think the more transparent and authentic you can be with your practice members or potential practice members set you up for success. And so I teach my docs like you need to be future pacing them and outlining what it looks like beyond their quote unquote pain, initial intensive, whatever it is. And so I taught and teach that on day two, after your discovery point, you bring them back on day two and you explain like, hey, listen, we're going to see you 24, 36, 48, whatever it is, this initial intensive phase, and we do that re-x-ray re-exam. I'm going to sit down and talk to you about maintaining and supporting your spine and nervous system. I don't know what that looks like when you and I get here, but just like you brush and floss on the regular, like it's as if more important in my opinion, you maintain your spine and nervous system. Your teeth are replaceable, your spine's not, your nervous system's not. So we want to make sure that it's functioning at its highest level. And then when I get to so I'm laying it out, like I'm not telling them what that looks like. You and I will come to agreement based on your stress levels, based on how much improvement you get on your films. We'll come to agreement and see what that looks like for you. Might be once a week, might be twice a month, might be once a month, but we will discuss that and come to agreement on it. But I will or am going to recommend some sort of care moving forward. And then when you get to that point, hopefully you've had however 2, 3, 4 months to continuously inform, educate, help them understand the principles of chiropractic. They've hopefully gone to your advanced spinal care class, the stuff that you should be doing. And then I sit down and like, listen, Mary, like you did amazing. Thank you for staying on frequency. You got the most improvement because you held your line and did the work. You showed up, you did your rehab at home. But remember, I mentioned like we're going to want to support your spine and nervous system moving forward. I said, I wouldn't want any less for you than I want for my family. My family, you've seen them here. They come in and get checked once a week, and they've been doing that their entire life. And so that's what I recommend for you is we check you once a week. It looks like this. And then if they push back, like I accommodate and find out where they're at. Usually it's financial, like, okay, well, I can't afford to continue to do what I'm doing. Well, it doesn't look that way for maintenance. But yeah, so that's a 60-second version of it. But yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, you didn't just open the doors and they just ran to see Paul Reed, right? Like they didn't know you.
No.
What would you say? Or like in the beginning now, you've been, how many years have you been in practice?
A little over 27.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So like I'm going to use the word marketing, but let's call it
Yeah.
like connection.
Outreach. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your outreach like? Was it phone book? Was it, I mean, remember the phone books, right?
Dude, I did it. Yeah. Some of the people are like, what? It's a phone book. Yeah.
The golden ticket in the news. Like,
Yeah.
what is your, you don't have to go into too much detail because we're not wanting you to give up everything here, but
Yeah. I've shared it all, man. I would tell you docs. So I think today is different than it was in 1998 or late 97 when I opened. It's definitely a different market. And that's part of evolving and growing. You have to recognize trends and continue to adapt or die. But man, I opened, so two things. I set my open date right around our state fair or our county fair. And I friggin' busted my butt screening the week preceding me opening and scheduled like 50 new patients before I opened.
Wow.
And then in the meantime,
Nice.
when I wasn't at the fair, I went door to door and knocked on doors, introduced myself, said, "Hey, I'm Dr. Paul, a chiropractor. Open it on. I have three simple questions about health I want to answer you. I'm doing a survey. Is that okay?" Just to get some conversation started with them. And I made up three questions. What is health? Blah 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 blah. And then I was like, "Great, can I send you the survey? Do you mind if I get your address?" They didn't have emails back then, right? Can I get your address? I'll mail you a survey. And so I got names and addresses, the ones that would give them. But I left them with a brochure and a card saying, just introducing myself as the doc down the corner. So those are, some of the early things I did was I would go and screen and tell the story anywhere that would let me, as often as I could, door to door. I don't know how long you guys been at it, but I don't know if you remember the killer ads. Remember the killer ads?
24
Oh
years,
yeah.
yes, sir. Golden ticket.
Oh,
Yep.
dude. Like, and again, but those changed. Like, I ran my first one, got like 100 new patients, like, boom, let's go. And then they slowly, more docs. I was the first in my area to run it, and then another doc did it, another doc did it, and slowly the results started
I was
to,
like, what's a newspaper?
yeah, it was an insert,
I
a
get that.
newspaper
I
insert.
get that from my kids. They're like, "What's a newspaper?" I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, I
Wow.
know, right? Yeah, so man, so I did the killer ads. So yeah, so screenings, talks, door to door. That was my stuff I did earlier in my career, and then obviously is the internet evolved. Like there wasn't even cell phones when I was going through chiropractic school. It's like what the heck. Yeah, so and then you have to adapt, like I said, and so Google AdWords, yeah, all the stuff that folks are doing now, Facebook, yeah.
So you're into a multi like
So,
I have a coach right now, like Dr. Borio, and he always says,
yeah,
"Have
Joe's
more than
awesome.
three legs on the stool." Like
Yeah.
the stool is advertising, marketing, outreach, whatever. Have more than three legs. So you're one of those you're all
Dude,
about it, man. Speak the
Dude,
man.
100%. You have to. I tell all my people and the clients and non-clients, like it's about base hits today. The world is different. You need to be doing multiple things, and it's about hitting base hits. Like get on first, go to second, steal third, and then somebody's gonna hit you home. But you have to be doing like all these different things today to drive the numbers to where you want them to be. Yeah, absolutely.
You were talking Parker's language right there. I'm amongst
Yeah.
sports greats. He's a Hall of Famer for
Uh,
baseball. You're the old
Yeah,
college
we
football
talk.
player. I didn't do anything.
I don't let him lie to you. He was a
Good
big
stuff.
soccer guy.
Yeah,
Good
soccer.
stuff.
They didn't even know what soccer was back then when I was playing.
Right?
Now they have a little idea of it. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. It's crazy to think all three of us, because I know Travis, you've been in, how long you been in practice? Less than me or more?
20 years.
Okay, and I'm
20 years.
24. So to hear that you, Dr. Paul, you were doing the same stuff.
Right?
And I did cats management. I did all those groups or
Yeah.
whatever. Same stuff, man. Didn't know that was anything that you did as a chiropractor. When I got, I was like, bam, there you go. So it's kind of crazy to think that we were all
Yeah, it's cool.
in that
That's
same
cool.
I don't know, I want to say time frame, but genre.
Right? We all are it's crazy how fast life goes, man, and practice season goes. It's it's
Gosh,
it's
yeah.
nutty.
Well,
Yeah.
you said you have a son in chiropractic college?
He just finished. He just started 11th quarter Life West. So yeah, so he'll be done next March. Yeah.
Son's
So
in
he's coming
chiropractic
home.
college. His
Awesome.
brother's in chiropractic college. You met his
Yeah.
brother
Yeah.
guy, so that's just
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's cool. Logan actually gets to come home. So the way Ron is set up they switched to 14 quarters. And so instead of 12, and so he executed all of his adjustment requirements 2 weeks into 10th quarter. So he basically finished 10th, and now he gets to come home and he gets a preceptor for like 10 months.
I
Like
like
he's
that.
going to be in an office doing remote class and preceptoring, being in an office for 10 months. So what a great opportunity. Like I wish that's, I mean, I think it's great. Like getting in an office,
Yep.
seeing what it's really like, getting your hands on people.
No,
Yeah,
but no, but
super cool. Yeah. Yeah.
well, like Paul, like you'd said, you and I have talked in the past, and of course, I told you my brother was pretty pushy when I said, yeah, I really want to talk to this guy, and he's like, he just texts me and goes, hey, you gotta contact him tonight. Here's his number. I told him you're gonna contact him. Don't make me look like an idiot. I'm like, you little punk. So, but obviously, before I had called you, or before we talked, I read up to try to know a little bit more about Dr. Paul Reed, and
Yeah.
you've been extremely successful. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, but I think that there are certain things that are it factors. I mean, we've all played sports. We're all athletic. There's a difference between talent and skill,
Mhm.
and I think that we've all any anyone coming out of school can have talent, but if you don't work it, then there's no skill. What do you believe, to you is the most important factor or factors to climb that ladder of success?
I think back to what I said, having your vision, really getting clarity on where you want to go, everything from, business volume, business revenues, setting your financial goals personally. I would say that one of the great things that Ron Mincer Hyde and I do is to invest in ourselves. I work with and see too many docs that are 30 years in, 25, 30 years in, and not financially positioned to have the freedom in their life. They're still in a position where they have to go to work. So really, I think when you in our profession, you got to make sure that you combine your heart set with your skill set, and making sure skill set being not only your adjusting skills but your financial skills. Because we have a tendency as chiropractors to be all heart, right? We want to serve for the sake of serving, love for the sake of loving, give for the sake of giving, and then die broke. And we have too much to offer humanity to for that to happen. It's sad and unfortunate. Like we have a great opportunity to serve at the highest level, and make a great living. But unfortunate or whatever it is, and maybe it's outside our industry, but I just see too many chiropractors that are really terrible with their money, and then they just get in a position where they're struggling, and it shouldn't be that way. And so really getting clarity when to go and being diligent and disciplined to investing in yourself, aka buying properties or whatever it might be. So at the end of your career, and again, limitations of time and matter, right? Like if you look at some of the old timers that served a lot of people, they're beat up, shoulders, back, you know, it's what we do is physical. And so taking care of yourself to make sure that you can extend your career as long as possible, is also super important. Yeah. I don't know if that answered your question, buddy, but
Oh, hey, you already answered half of it as you were talking prior.
These are just quick
Travis.
questions. You already said it all. So
Oh, that's funny. Nice.
well, so you said it before. You had coaches. You do all that stuff. So you now decide you're gonna leave, not leave practice. You're gonna leave being in the practice as far as the doc and this and that, and you're gonna become a coach. Like what went into that? What was the driving force beside? You know what? I'm gonna
Yeah.
start coaching.
Yeah, I had coached probably mid career. So I was with another coaching group, and a best friend, still one of my best friends today. Him and I are like, you know what, we want to pour into people, and so and that group wanted us to coach for them on the West Coast, and we said no, and we're going to do our own thing. And so we had coached for 3 to 4 years, mid career for me, but I just couldn't. I didn't feel like I was giving the clients the amount of attention they needed. Anyhow, so I just, again, back to that first adjustment. I know I was called into chiropractic, not only be a chiropractor, but help chiropractic. And that's kind of why I started, another side job, started ChiroFest. I'm year 15 into, I would say if you remove Parker and what's the Florida FCA event? It's probably one of the largest chiropractic events, in the country. We had 600 to 700 docs and team members that show up, 50 exhibitors, 22 speakers, annually. And so it's, and the theme there is honor the past, preserve the future. And so it's really about, it's a selfless thing. Like I really want, or selfish thing. I want my kids to know chiropractic the way I know chiropractic. And so all that said is, chiropractic was really good to me. And so after I sold in 2019, I was helping the group that I sold to expand. It just wasn't aligned with my heart set. Like I want to, chiropractor's too good and chiropractors struggle too much. And so I want to help chiropractors experience what I got to experience with chiropractic. And so that's the whole premise behind the coaching, is just to And it's not that, most of them I tell everyone I work with, like, everything you're supposed to do, and it's inside of you. It's just me helping you pull it out and hold your line and do the work. Because again, there's only so many ways. I kind of laugh and chuckle, like people start putting their names on a day one or a day two process or any process period. I'm like, that was freaking like that's been around since BJ. Like, stop saying it's you. Like, it's not your process. Like every coach, I don't care if it was Mertz, Body by God, Oberstein, Schofield, whoever, like they all kind of teach a similar day one, day two, and just put a little bit of their flavor on it. So I tell them that, like, listen, like I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know or haven't heard or haven't seen. I'm just going to help you execute on it, maybe refine it a little bit, keep your thumbprint on it, and then but just be behind you to shove you to do the work that you need to do to get the results you want to get. So
We need that camaraderie. We do. I mean, that was big for me in
Yeah.
the beginning
yeah,
when I first started practicing. I thought I was alone. I had a lot, just like everybody else, had a lot happen to me that first year. Had a baby, my wife got fired, all those things, and here I am, bam, and a lot of other things went on, even legally and stuff like that.
yeah,
And once I found not a group, and it's not even the group that I found, but once I found that there were other chiropractors who wanted to be successful, that was big. It was like,
Mhm.
I felt like I was a part of something. And then you almost
yeah,
feel like you can't fail when you're in
yeah.
that group and okay, I'm not the only one going through this. There's other people that went through it. So that's again part of why, Travis and I have talked about this for years. Let's do something to let these students know. And then when my son got in, it was like, all right, now I have to do it.
Yeah, right. Now I'm committed. I got to do this.
We got
Yeah,
it just to let them know, listen, there's a gap. And we want to bridge that gap so that, like you said all along, we don't,
yeah,
so maybe you don't make those mistakes. You'll
yeah.
make mistakes, but maybe we can soften some of those for you.
And
Yeah.
to your point, like it's critical. I would say it's doing what we do, Lone Wolf. It's important that you're go to events regularly. Like get around like-minded chiropractors, like-minded people, doing, going in the same direction. Not necessarily coaching groups. Like you should have a mentor and a coach always, but go to, my event, Tim's event, Cal Jam when Billy had it. He's talking about bringing it back. Like get to events, surround yourself with like-minded people, and let them, iron sharpens iron, right? Like we just all elevate when we're together. So yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Man, well, I tell you, our next,
Travis.
the next, the next thing on the list was, just some straightforward, short and sweet advice that you'd have for new docs. You know, low overhead or going big to start.
Low
Which
overhead. Keep it low.
uh,
Yeah. Low as
we figured
possible. Yeah. Yeah.
it really is congruent with what you've been saying. Associateship or start your own practice.
Whatever your heart's leading you, man. Wherever your spirit's leading you. Yeah. It's not for everybody, but if you're really feeling called to go, go. And if there's some uncertainty, you're feeling like I need to go get some mentorship and support for a year or two or three, whatever, do it. Like just listen to whatever your heart's telling you.
Hey,
Yeah.
Travis, let me jump in right there. So I have a question for you, and this is kind of one off the cuff here. Sorry.
Yeah. No, good. Wes.
Oh, perfect.
We hear the term all the time. Okay, it's going to cringe a little bit. Chiropractors eat their young. What are your thoughts on that?
No. Well, for one, okay, I guess loaded question.
Hey,
There are some that do that to their doctors. Yeah, for sure. But again, you know, I look at it as so those that are doing that, and yeah, whatever it is, what it is. But there's also relationship capital that you learn from being around successful people. And so, like taking your lumps and going someplace and eating crow for a few months or years to learn will pay huge dividends. But I established, and the only reason I was able to expand and have multiple clinics and more importantly, employee retention is because I paid them fairly, and made what they did fun. And so I think it definitely can be done the right way, in my opinion. So yeah.
sorry, Travis.
No, no, that's good. That's
What?
good. I was going to ask the same thing, because here a few years back, I was asked to be on the alumni board. I went to Parker
Okay.
and I was asked to be on the alumni board. I'm like, I'm not going back. They're pushing puppy massage and stuff like that. And of course, this friend of mine that had already agreed to be on the board, he was high volume down in south of Austin. He goes, man, they got several docs on this board that see like 5 people a week because they have the time on the board, and I feel like they're leading these students astray, right? So, that's another big reason when Wes said, hey, let's do this. I was like, it was always in the back of my mind because I joined the board. I did two, I don't know what you call them, two
Terms or whatever. Yeah.
terms or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. These kids just didn't even know what to ask. And you're told in school, hey, if you want answers, just go buy a chiropractor drink, start asking questions. Well, none of these guys could afford that. So at Parker seminars in Dallas, we get together and we had a venue that was set up for these through the school for these kids to come and eat and stuff, and then they'd click up, and we're just wandering around without our little name badges on, and we'd go up and throw $1,000 at the bartender and say, just pay for drinks for the next hour. And then we'd snap our little badges on and go sit down at groups and say, I'm in practice, what do you want to know, right? And just to kind of figure out what they're thinking, and this is why this is so powerful, what you're doing, working with us on this is, just there's someone out there that wants to just do nothing but chiropractic adjustments, and to do therapies is sacrilege, and there's a guy or a gal out there that they need to know is out there.
Yep.
And there's someone that wants to have multiple offices and wants to deal with associate docs, and there's a guy out there, right? So, and that's one of the things that we were wanting to try to definitely get out of this.
Awesome.
Obviously the last question, management group or go it alone. I'm not going to ask you that because, like I said,
I think I answered that already a few times.
We need people. We need like-minded people to visit with. We have tried to become, Wes and I, but we've tried to be very approachable, and then I'm obviously very honest, right? I'm a guy right now. I've made a lot of money and I've spent a lot of money, and I still have to go to work.
Yep.
And so part of my reason for talking to you was,
game plan.
what do I not know? I'm not a business person. My family was blue collar, and my mom's a beautician. My dad worked for a natural gas company, right? There's no way that I was going to school unless it was on me.
Yep.
And so then I've alienated myself, or I've isolated myself in so many ways. And then I've just been not willing to ask those questions because just didn't know. So,
but so all that just said, yes, find a mentor.
I'm going alone.
Travis. Or multiple. Like, again, I've tried to set my stuff up depending on the level so that people can work with Joe and me or Tim. And like, just, I think, again, multiple people in your corner supporting you is important. So
you can see that in you and Joe. I know in particular, I've followed you for probably 3 to 5 years now. Honestly, I didn't even know about ChiroFest until about 3 or 4 years ago. Okay. That's how sheltered I was in the group that I was in. But before this group, I was sheltered to the point where it was literally I just bought in. Like, these are all my friends, they're all my buddies, and we are the most successful docs out there. Then I remember the day I met Billy DeMoss, and I'm like, you see how many? Like, you're not in my group. What do you?
Wait a minute.
So, who do you use?
There's a few groups out there that insulate their people. There's another one I won't mention names, but they were pretty good at that. Like you were looked down upon if you went to any other events outside of their own. It's like, come on.
That was the group I was in at the time, and it ended up like I told you when we started. I know Tim Young. I'm good friends with Tim Young. I've been good friends with him for a while, and he got me into one of those groups. And here I'll say this: I took a lot out of that group. I did take a lot out of that group, and like you said, the good and the bad. There was some of that bad stuff that happened. I look at it like, being a father. I did not grow up in the situation y'all grew up in. If we want to get into whose parents made the least, I win. I promise you that. I didn't even know what a collar was, so whether I didn't know what it was.
You know how to hunt, so that's awesome. Look at all that.
I had to learn to eat. Just kidding.
Right.
So it's super important to do all that. So first of all, I know Travis's sentiment is the same, man. I really appreciate you for doing this because
you're welcome.
Reaching out to you guys. We've done a couple prior to you. I've got some others, scheduled, this and that. The students have freaking loved it, and that's what I love. I love to. I sent you that text message from that student Eli and all that. Man, that stuff that gets my heart racing. That's the good stuff. So
100%. And again, it's protecting our future. Like, that's really. There's, as you alluded to with the schools, man, they're really getting off course, in my opinion. And it's important that we, somebody's got to hold the line and hold the principle.
So. That's our job. That's our job. Yep. Practitioners. If you want to sit back and pardon me, bitch and moan about it, and yet you're not willing to step up, lead what they need, and reach out to them and let them know you're available. Because I have a good relationship with Dr. Cleveland, and Dr. Cleveland's constantly like, Wes, anytime you want to come talk, come talk. Well, Frank, he calls me Frank. Anytime you want to come talk. You know, we can do this, we can do that, whatever. He's open to it. But he reassures me. He's always like, my job is to get them to pass the boards. That's my job. I mean, and I get that. You know, we could talk for days about that stuff. But you know, that is what it is. So you already jumped to what I'm going to call the last question. You jumped to it almost. So, do we need, in your opinion, this goes out to all those students out there, do we need more or less chiropractors?
Oh, everybody needs to be checked. We do not have near enough. If we were truly living up to what chiropractic was found on, every spine and nervous system should be under some sort of care, at least be evaluated, subluxation. We couldn't do it. We could not do it. We're not in a position to be able to serve the amount of people that need to be taken care of. If we're truly to empty out the hospitals and the highways and the byways, as BJ said, right? Like, we do not have enough chiropractors. Not nearly enough. It could 4x and we still wouldn't have enough. Like, we could move from 60,000 to 240,000 and wouldn't be enough. Yeah.
Completely agree. Completely agree. Travis, any closing comments? Or Dr. Reed, do you have any closing comments?
Just, hey, I again appreciate you guys for forging the way for these students. It's awesome. So thank you. Thanks for having me on, but thank you for standing in the line for them. So,
would you tell the camera the name of your management group and how you could be reached?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to find me is on Instagram these days. At Dr. Paul Reed Official, my Instagram handle. That'll direct you wherever. And it's the Unstoppable Chiro is the chiro group that I coach. So
awesome.
Sound unstoppable, brother. You do. I love it.
No. Thank you. Thank you.
I love it. All right,
dude.
Good, Travis.
Yeah, we appreciate your time, Doc. I know you're busy.
You.
It's nice of you to visit with us.
It's important. It's
good for these kids.
Yeah. Amen. Wow.
All right, brother. Appreciate
you. Guys. Have an awesome night. Great connecting in person, kind of. Love these faces.
Let's not make it the last time.
No, absolutely not. Right. Get out to ChiroFest, crying out loud, September 19th.
Yes, sir.
Well, so we're big hunters, and that's when mule deer season is. So we were talking about it. I told him, I go, hey, by the way, it's during mule deer season. He was like, not this year.
Nice. All right. Yeah. I got an elk hunt like 2 weeks afterwards in Idaho. So
awesome.
Nice.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a great night.
Bye. Have a good evening.